Welcome to the WordPress Photography Podcast, the podcast for photographers who want to learn how to get the most out of WordPress to grow their photography business. You don't need to be a geek to understand WordPress. Settle back and listen as we show you how. Now, here's your host, Scott Wyden-Kivowitz.
Welcome to episode 130. My name is Scott Wyden-Kivowitz, and I'm joined by my guest, Peter LaGregor. Peter has run a successful photography business as a side gig for many years. Photography has been in his life since he was very young. He had a makeshift darkroom in the basement, and he learned film photography as well as developing and making prints in his teens. Peter does portrait photography professionally, but loves photographing landscapes and teaching photography skills to others. Now, he also teaches photography through his website, Photography Goals. So welcome to the show, Peter. Nice to have you here.
Thanks, Scott. Really excited to be here. Actually, I've been a listener for a long time when I was getting my business started. So it's kind of cool to actually be on the show.
Oh, nice. So your business is more recent then, because we've been doing this maybe for 5 years, maybe 6 years, something like that. At this point. But
that's right about how old the business is.
So, like me, you are not a full-time professional photographer, but rather a part-time professional photographer offering your services on the side from your full-time job. Does your day job have any overlap at all with your photography?
Well, my day job, I'm a lawyer, actually, full-time trial lawyer. As you can imagine, that takes a lot of time. And, on the surface, I don't think there is any overlap. I mean, sometimes, there's photos involved in a case or something like that, but that's about the only direct overlap. But what I have found is that kind of the skills I've learned or developed with, running a business sometimes actually can apply to my other job as well, especially the marketing stuff and how you talk to people and, dealing with the public. I'm, like I said, I'm a trial lawyer, so I'm talking to juries on a regular basis, or at least I was before COVID. But being able to learn marketing and over the years, I've kind of spent a lot of time reading marketing books and learning marketing and things like that for the business, kind of figuring out how to talk to people, what people react to, what gets people excited or just involved. Actually, there's significant overlap with that. As far as the photography itself, now I don't think there's a lot of overlap. But I will say that having the photography, even as a business, and I know a lot of people say that if you do photography as a business, it's going to take the fun out of it. It hasn't really for me. In fact, the photography and shooting portraits has been a little bit of the escape from the law and from the stress of that kind of thing. So it's kind of a nice balance in my life. I like you said, I like to shoot landscapes too. Go out on my own, and the ocean, things like that. That's more relaxing. But even the business aspect of the photography business is kind of a nice change from my day job. So it's got a nice balance. Balancing the time is probably the most difficult part, but they go together nicely. I think having a side gig in addition to your day job is something that really everyone, if you have the time, should do, whether it's photography or not. I think it helps balance your life a little bit, gives you something else to do, gives you something to look forward to, at the end of the day, and that kind of thing. I think it's actually, if nothing else, it's actually helped my productivity and kind of balanced me a little bit.
Right. Yeah. Well, and what you said about a lot of people who might dislike photography if they focused on it for too long. That's exactly me. That's what I decided when I decided to get into photography. I knew, because I know myself so well, that I knew that if I was doing it full time, I'd wind up hating it. So I do it on on the weekends whenever I can, whenever I have the ability to take on client work. But if I could only do landscapes and just spend hours just staring at an ocean or whatever it is, I would do it in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I think
if you didn't have to worry about anything else in life and you could just do landscapes, it would be
yeah,
amazing.
that's definitely one of the benefits to not doing it full time. Um, Although I think if for the full time photographers out there, if you're doing, if you're specific about what you're doing and you pick something that you like, I'm sure there's plenty out there that would say it's not tedious and it hasn't taken away their love of photography. I'm sure.
Right. Oh yeah. 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 It's all about everybody's got their own, mindset on things. And I just, you have to know yourself.
Yeah.
And if you know that you can handle it and still love what you're loving, then great. Of course. And there's thousands of people, because there's obviously, there's wedding photographers who are doing it, and they love doing what they're doing every single day. And it's funny, a lot of the wedding photographers in particular, it's not even about the wedding photography that they love. It's the weddings themselves and the couple stories and that whole thing. So it's very interesting. Everybody's different, and everything's good, right?
Yeah.
So to each their own. It's all good. So for those who are in the same situation as you and I, managing work and our own businesses, we have our own methods to our madness. And I'm sure those who aren't fully immersed in our world might might be soon or thinking about possible methods to manage it all. So can you please share how you balance running a photography business while keeping that full-time job, which is, as you said, slight overlap, very little, but otherwise very different between the two?
Yeah, and I'm going to say right up front, I am not the most organized person in the world. I'm probably on the other side of that spectrum of organization. So I don't think you have to be kind of a very organized, very very meticulous person. It helps, but I'm not that. And I think the biggest thing that I've been able to do, and this is kind of like a superpower of having a side gig as opposed to having to do it full time, is that I've learned to say no a lot and only take the type of photography I want to do, shoot the clients that I mesh with and that I think will be a good fit for me. And being able to, like I said, I think it's a superpower of having a side gig because I don't depend 100% on the income from the photography business. So it makes it easy to say, you know what, I don't think that's a good fit. Just recently I got a call like to shoot an event, and it would have been like most of the day, and not a wedding, but it was most of the day, and it just I really didn't have any desire to go do that because it would have taken too much time. Like you said, I shoot portraits. As far as professional photography, I shoot portraits mostly, and that's a 2 hour session at sunset or sunrise, and then we're done. But most of the time is spent with the client. I spend time on a Zoom call preparing with them, making sure I know what they like and what kind of style they have. The shoot is the shoot for a couple hours, and then we go over the photos, pick out wall art, all that business stuff. But I've structured that in such a way that I do that in the evenings and or early morning. But maybe one out of like 100 clients will want to shoot at sunrise as opposed to sunset. But you know, being able to pick the clients that are a good fit for me has been a big part of that. So I'm very upfront about the process and how it works, and tell them look, we're going to get the best images at sunset, so that's when we're going to do it. I don't tell them hey, I have a full-time job, so we got to shoot at sunset. But you know put it in more of a positive spin for them. But
Yeah.
I've been doing what I guess what you'd call a sales meeting after the shoot in person, but then of course COVID, and we started doing that virtually, and that's actually been pretty good too. So the business is structured in a way that fits my timing, my schedule, and things like that. So I think that the two things that make a big difference for me are like I said, one, saying no to the things that don't fit and structuring the business itself around the schedule so that it never really gets in the way. I mean, there are times I'm at my office during the day where I'll take a photo client phone call, but other than that, it hasn't been that hard. And that's a big product of doing portrait photography. It'd be different if if I was doing corporate event photography, then I'd be working during business hours, and that wouldn't be a good fit at all. So maybe I'm a little lucky that I like that type of photography, but that's been the biggest thing, is making sure that it fits and being able to say no.
If it was product photography, you could do it at any hour of the day and it wouldn't make a difference.
That is true, and I've been kind of dabbling in product photography with the website Photography Goals. We do some lens and camera reviews. So of course for the when we do a review, I take photos of the products and stuff. So that's a fun a fun genre. It's not, to me, it's not as interesting as meeting people and shooting their portrait, but it's cool.
Yeah, it can be quite challenging too. I every so often I'll take on a job that challenges me outside of my comfort zone in photography. And about 2 years ago, I took on one where I had to photograph a piece of metal that was for probably a car of some sort. I don't know exactly, but it was probably for a car. And I think there was three different sizes, and I just had to photograph individually metal rods and make them look pretty. Like that's a challenge, right?
That sounds like a reflection nightmare.
Yes. Yeah. Well, so that's where you're lighting, but you're turning all the lights away from the subject. So you're just basically getting the ambiance from the light, not necessarily the actual light on the object. And it's all like, it was all very silver metal that if you touch it, now your fingerprints are all over it. So you have to wear gloves while you're holding everything. So, it was a mess, but job was done. Many of the listeners know that I have a course on lead generation. And as someone whose photography business is a part-time thing, I often refer leads to friends who do run full-time businesses. And I'm curious, what are some of the ways that you use your website to generate leads for your photography business?
So the biggest thing for me has been local SEO, search engine optimization. And I think if you Googled senior portraits in New Jersey, I think I'm among the top 3 results. And that has been a product of over the last few years, I've definitely spent a lot of time learning search engine optimization and just kind of strategic blogging. And we can dive into that a little bit if you'd like. But the other aspect to that is people don't come to a site and stay all the time. I mean, you're not going to get every single person that visits your website to give you a call. So lead capture has been kind of a big part of that as well. What I'm trying now, and it used to be just a box that says free consult or something like that. What I'm trying now is a lead magnet, where if you came to my site, you'd get a pop-up, or there'd be, depending on where you were, there'd be a box to fill out to get a family portrait planning guide. And of course, the planning guide you download, you need to leave your email address, and then they get a series of emails from me, over the next week or two, just talking about portrait photography and showing some examples and trying to, get them revved up to give me a call. And also the portrait guide itself, where, I'll have some local spots, like, best photography spots, or what to wear guide, the questions that I get the most often. But also, it goes through my process of, I do a planning session, do the portrait session, and then we would call a sales session. I call it a design session for the clients. And it kind of walks them through my process. And if that gets them excited, then they give me a call. And the result has been that, for one, when someone calls me, they're warmed up. I mean, they're ready to go. They've learned a lot about me already. So the the percentage of people that book once they call is close to 50%, which is, I think, high. I mean, I'm not tied into the industry enough to know if that's high, but I'm pretty happy with that. And it's very hands off as far as lead generation. What I've started doing, with varying success, is trying to run paid ads to those lead magnets. I don't know if that's going to be cash flow positive yet, but I'm definitely generating leads. So it looks positive so far. I've really just started doing that in the past month or so. But there was something that I did when I was first getting started that was actually really successful, and I can talk about that if you'd like. It was
Sure.
essentially what most of us would call a model call. If you listen to photography stuff online, you'll hear about this. It's nothing revolutionary, but I would put an ad out on social media, paid ad, and it would ask for, this goes back to shooting what I want to shoot. At the time I was, trying to get more senior portraits in and more family portraits. So I would put an ad out that said, like, hey, if you have kids, if you're a family with 2 kids and you want to do a family portrait, we can do a free shoot. You got a free 5x7 from the shoot. And if you want more, no problem. We can talk about it. And essentially it was what we call a free shoot ad. And people I'd get maybe a few dozen responses. I would call them all up and tell them how it works, and that, it's a free 5x7. That's it. No digitals, no nothing. And that they're helping me build my portfolio. That was kind of the angle I would take. And most people just kind of understood that, like, oh, okay, yeah, cool. And I'd say, if you want more, I'm happy to let you purchase them, but no pressure, no, and I kind of got a feel from talking to them who was most interested in it. And the ad was very specific that, like, only a few people would be chosen. So after talking to them, if they were like, yeah, we really want a new canvas for our wall or something like that, if I knew it would be a kind of a lucrative client, they were the ones that I would pick for the shoot. And of course, all this was up front. They knew that some people would be picked and some people wouldn't. And for the most part, those even though they were quote unquote free shoots, some of those generated thousands of dollars in wall art sales, and it built my portfolio really quick in the beginning. So that was, if anyone's getting started, I said before, like, side hustle photographers have certain superpowers. There's certain things you can take advantage of as a side hustle photographer, that a professional, a full-time photographer can't do. And one of those is taking a chance on things like these free shoots or things like that. But of course, you read photography websites, everyone's going to be like, don't shoot for free, don't shoot for free. I disagree completely with that. I think you can do that if you're strategic about it, and that if you're shooting for free on your own terms. I'm not saying that everyone that calls you and says, hey, why don't you get exposure and shoot my wedding for free? That's, of course, that's ridiculous. But yeah,
That's different. Yeah.
It's, those are, you see those and people complain about the, whatever. It is what it is. People are going to ask, and you just have to say no.
Yeah.
But, when you can,
especially as you're building your business, there's no reason why you couldn't strategically do some free photo sessions. There's no reason why you couldn't. If you're 10 years into your business and it's a big, revenue maker, then that's a different story, right? At that point, you're not going to do free.
And I think even then there's an opportunity for, like you said, the 10 year in photographer to say, hey, I want to try to shoot this type of photography. For example, one way that I was I was really happy with the results. I wanted to shoot athletes, and I do a lot of high school portraits, and most of them, if you visit my website, you'd see there's a lot of athletes and dancers, and action portraits essentially is what they are. And a lot of those came from putting out, or got started with those from putting out an ad just like this, saying if you're a high school athlete, senior, and you want a senior portrait that shows off kind of your thing, give me a call. And I got a bunch of people in, and some of those were some of my favorite shoots and are still up on my website. So that was a way for me to kind of say, like, this is what I want to do. I'm going to focus on this and get this genre or this specific genre. And someone who's 10 years in, 20 years in, you can still do that. You can say, hey, I want to do underwater portraits, and put out an ad for that and get a few free clients in, and, use that method. I think it's always a tool in your tool belt. It's just not you can't do it all the time, obviously.
That's good that you're trying different things. I'm glad that you're doing this a lead magnet. I do think an ad for a lead magnet can be successful. It's just a matter of the right approach to it. Not every Facebook is obviously a great place for it, but you wouldn't go everywhere to do it. Like Google may not be a great place for it. SEO ranking well on Google is always going to be the absolute number one driver for most businesses. And a good example is I've been doing family portraits, cake smash sessions for years. And over the past 3 years or so, I've gotten a couple proposal session requests, and I did the proposal sessions. I have completely fallen in love with doing proposal sessions. And I never thought that would be like what, of all the non-landscape work, I never thought that this would be like the thing that I would enjoy the most. And I had a couple clients tell me, like, look, you gotta push this, because they're obviously fun for you, and they come out so good. And I like the planning process for them. I like the spying process. I think that's fun as a photographer to be able to play a spy. So I put together this landing page, and every day I'm getting like 5 organic leads. I haven't done a lead magnet yet. I haven't done any ads for it. I'm just getting people from all over New Jersey contacting me. So I'm ranking for everything that these people are searching for. I'm ranking number 1. So they're contacting me first. And it's without any effort on my part besides making a landing page and talking about, I made a couple videos about it. That's it. Just all organic things. And that's the power of putting out quality content, not only in your photography, but what you're putting on your site itself and on YouTube and all the different things to attract people. If you put out quality content, you're going to start ranking well, because SEO isn't just about the logistics anymore. It's about the content more than anything these days. So
if I could share one tip with the audience, and you probably, I know you know this, stop blogging about specific sessions, and stop writing blogs that say the Smith family wedding was awesome. Nobody's reading that. Even the Smith family is going to read it once. It's not helpful for like that the SEO has changed, and that is no longer useful to really anyone. That kind of stuff put on social media. It's not working anymore. Like be specific, be strategic, see what people are looking for, and create content that your audience or your clients are going to want. I actually wrote an article about SEO on photography goals. I'm happy to, maybe we could share the link if you want.
I will expand on that statement though a little bit, because it's okay to do them every so often. I wouldn't make it the main strategy of a photographer's blog, but if you take it to a new level and you're sharing some photos from a client session, but then including a behind the scenes video of their first look of their session, and you're seeing the person that's reading this blog article and watching this video is also seeing their actual reaction to seeing their photographs for the first time. That's a powerful thing. That's a powerful selling tool. So you can do it, but try to take it to a new level where it's less about trying to rank, because those won't rank well, but it's more about trying to get that visitor on your website to be like, I want that, right? So there's ways that you could do it that's still strategic.
Right. So it's more for you. It's more of a conversion tactic than it is an SEO play.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Exactly. What are some photography specific time saving strategies for side hustle photographers? So let's start with some time-saving business techniques?
I automate everything I can. I use, like I said, for lead generation, that's automated. I'm using software called Sprout Studio, and they're pretty good as far as automation. Everything I have everything templated in there. So if somebody calls, if someone fills out one of my lead forms, they're automatically in Sprout. This is going to sound like an ad for them, but I really do I really do use them and like them. When somebody fills out a lead form, they're automatically in there, classified as a lead. Then if they book, they get moved to the shoot status and everything, payment, contracts, scheduling, everything's kind of automated through there. I think it's, the average client, I'm making like 3 clicks on the software to send them an invoice, to book the shoot. So I'm trying to, that stuff is not time consuming at all. I make sure that my time I do have is either on the phone with them, shooting, or editing the photos. And those are things that can be time shifted. In other words, I can do them whenever. Actually, evenings. Most people want to talk in the evenings anyway, after business hours, and the shoot is the shoot, and of course, photo editing can be done anytime. So, the biggest thing for me is spending the time to learn the automation software. That has been huge for me, and it is a lot of people, I think, get into that and get frustrated because there's the good software that does that is complicated, whether it's email automation, lead gen, just studio management software. Spend the time to upfront to get familiar with it, learn how to use it well. And I think that would be a big help for anyone. I was a little hesitant at first to invest that amount of money up front. You're talking at least $50 a month, I think is what I'm paying now. But in the beginning, that's scary when you're not bringing in a whole bunch of business. But I can say that made, and it could be any software. It doesn't have to be the one I picked. But that makes a huge difference, being able to control that those repeated tasks and not have to do that every time.
Yeah, Sprout Studio is fantastic business tool for photographers overall. If anybody who is listening or watching and wants to learn more about Sprout Studio, we actually had Brian Caparici on, the CEO of Sprout Studio, on the podcast, I think 2 or 3 times. So I'll be sure to link to that in the show notes, so you can find the episodes where he gets to share his knowledge as well, and you'll learn a little bit about Sprout Studio. It is an amazing tool. It is complex because of how much is involved, but if you need a single business tool, it has everything you need in it, right? It's doing everything you need for whether it's a full-time business or a part-time business. You briefly touched on photographic time-saving techniques. I want to share one thing that I do, and hopefully you can share something that you're doing. So I use a tool called Optics, which is an AI-based culling tool. And there's a bunch of them on the market. I'll be testing another one called Aftershoot in the next few weeks. But Optics has been fantastic. It saves me loads of time, and I rarely see it miss a photo that should be, rated high or whatever. So I'm curious what kind of time-saving techniques or tools that you're using in your business
I am
as well.
very interested in checking that out. Actually, you mentioned that before we got started, and I was looking it up. That I never knew about that. That is something I'm going to try out. That looks really cool. This is going to sound almost well, of course, but I think the biggest time saving photographically for me has been learning off camera flash. And it sounds counterintuitive. It sounds like, okay, well, you're spending more time with the flash and things like that. But what the results have been is that my time editing, once I got over the learning curve of learning off camera flash, of course, you do got to put the time in and learn how to use it well. But once I got over that learning curve, the time I've spent editing has been like cut into like maybe 25%, because if you get, and I also shoot natural light. It's not like I'm not like, a snob about one way or the other. There's advantages to both, but I think using off-camera flash has really changed, one, the quality of the work, but also I spend so much less time editing because I have more control in the field when I'm shooting, and that has really, really helped a lot. And that's, like I said, quality plus time. And when it comes to the editing itself, that's probably the most time consuming part. So good that with the off camera flash, that helps, but also the editing itself. um, I don't I don't think it matters what your system is, but I think you need a system for editing and culling, especially, and that software you have sounds really cool.
Mm.
When I like you said, I teach photography. I have a course on Lightroom and things like that. And one of the things I talk about is having a system that gets you through the culling and the editing fast. And every if you're shooting a lot of photos, you professional photographer,
Right.
you probably have your own system. I would say look at that system and see where you can improve it. Just the simple things like syncing your edits across multiple photos, and identifying those like blocks of similar photos, having a system for culling. I go through and I first pass, I go through and just all the rejects and all the ones that are out of focus, missed exposure, flash didn't fire, that kind of stuff. And then I try to go fast through that, and I have kind of a grading system that I use. And I don't think it matters what system you use, but having that system and being able to just sit down and say, okay, here's step one, here's step two, and getting through it actually matters a lot. And it's one of those simple things that I think some people overlook, because it's like, oh well, I'm just going to sit in front of Lightroom and start editing. But when you have a system, and even the actual edits themselves, I do them in phases, where I'll do kind of the overall global edits first, then I can sync all those, and then I go back to individual edits, because you can't really say, when I say individual, like spot removal and using the brush on certain areas, things like that. I break it down like that so I can do that sync across all the edits, and then go back and do those spots and things like that. So having a system has really helped a lot, and it's kind of out of necessity. Having very little time usually to edit photos, I've kind of developed a system that works pretty quickly.
That's great. Yeah, workflows, systems. Whether you're a full-time or a part-time business, it's super important to have those very structured, very down pat, have them seamless, flawless, all those fun words, because it really is a time saver. And by the way, optics can also group similar photos, and you can label similar photos so that it actually save you
Yeah,
time
I'm
there in
downloading. I'm
Lightroom or
definitely
wherever too.
downloading that today.
But it's pretty incredible. So yeah, I mean, no matter what you're doing, I like to say that I like having workflows for everything in life. Even when I'm doing my yard work on weekends, I've got a structure to how I do everything, in what order, what paths I take there, which it gets a little redundant, but it also makes it very efficient, because you know exactly what you have to do next.
And I think I always tell everyone that it seems like you're limiting yourself when you have a strict workflow, but actually I think that unlocks a lot more creativity, because when there's certain things you have to do for every photo, as far as just getting it right, getting it to look like a clean edit. But then if you can get that done fast and then focus on the more creative stuff, I think that kind of gives you more time to focus on that. It unlocks that creativity. So I don't think it's limiting at all.
So we're getting to the end here, and I'm wondering if there's anything else you'd like to share that we haven't talked about. Any additional advice that you want to give before we wrap it up?
Especially if you're thinking about a side hustle, get started. And just give it a shot. It's so easy in anywhere usually to start an LLC, and you don't even need to do that right away. But I think it's a great thing for just being, just in life, is to have something that you love doing and make a business of it and see if you can do it professionally. And maybe you love it, maybe you don't, maybe you hate doing it professionally, but give it a shot. I think for all of you hobbyist photographers out there, and maybe I'm doing a disservice to myself as a photographer. I'm creating competition, but I think the more out there, the better. Give it a shot, and it's a lot of fun. I think to run at least for me, it's been a lot of fun to learn about business, learn about marketing, learn about SEO, and run a business. Aside from just the photography aspect of it, and maybe that's not everyone, but just get started. It's so easy to get started. Try doing some, like I said, strategic free shoots, and see what you can do, and stretch your creativity a little bit, and get going.
Cool. So thank you, Peter, for joining us today. Can you tell the listeners the absolute best place to find more information about you?
I think if you want to find me, you can go to photographygoals.com. And also there's a YouTube channel, Photography Goals. That's where I talk about all things photography. We do lens reviews and Lightroom tutorials and just general tutorials and things like that. So that's the best place to find me. But if you want to see my actual photography business and my website, you can check it out at LaGregorphotography.com.
Awesome. So you can find the show notes and all the places where to find Peter at imagely.com/podcast/130. Don't forget to subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, Google Play, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Until next time.
You've been listening to the WordPress Photography Podcast. To listen to other episodes and to subscribe to the podcast via iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and more, please visit imagely.com/podcast.